what's up, guys? This is Adi from Sasha Nation, and today we're going to be talking about demography. Demography? I can never figure how to pronounce that word. But anyways, go ahead and watch the intro and we'll come back later. Okay, so now that you're back from the intro, let's go ahead and write it down. Demography. I don't know. It's just one of the words I guess I just can't pronounce. I don't know. It's weird. I guess everyone has those words. At least I think everyone does. Am I the only one here? Leave it in the comments below and tell me. All right, so demography, that's just how I'm going to pronounce it. All right, so demography is the study of vital stats that will affect the population. So, as you can tell, we're nearing the end of the biology, I guess like series. I don't know. But we're going towards more like population stuff, and how things ecosystems interact and parts of the ecosystem, stuff like that. And we have a few more videos left, and then we'll be done with biology. Actually, let me look through. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, interactions, flow of energy, genetic diversity, human impact, and then we're going to do a basic review of the math. I know we did this in my AP Bio class, and it helped a lot, at least the math stuff, so I'm going to do it too. It probably will help. If it doesn't, if you're good on the math, hey, whatever, move on. Don't watch the video. It's all good. All right, go study the other stuff that you need for the test. All right, so demography, they even do this for human populations, and a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about now, demography, for instance, is heavily covered in, oh, look, an email. All right, is heavily covered in courses like human geography. And so if you've taken that course, most of this stuff will make sense to you, and you already know, what the graphs mean, things like that. So if you're interested in learning this type of stuff, I definitely suggest taking that course. It's a great AP course, and you'll learn a lot. All right, so first thing we're going to talk about is age structures. Age structure graphs. I don't know how age. What did we call it in AP Bio? In AP Human, AP Hug. I don't remember. But here it's called age structures. I think we called it. Man, this is gonna bother me now. Oh yeah, pyramids, but like population pyramids. Yeah, that's what we called it. Okay. So basically, it's a graph that compares the gender. So it compares the gender. Oh. And the age of a population. So the graph will look like this. So if you had a graph like this, all right, so you'd have the age marks here. Okay. You'd have like males and females, and depending on the type of population, it might be like this, or as you'll learn, it might be even like this, a pillar structure, and this is all just going into AP Hug stuff right here. And most of this stuff, you can apply to AP Hug. You can apply it to biology and to animals and stuff like that, but a lot of it you can, a lot of it is meant for human beings. And it's just the way that we've learned to develop, an understanding of the population that we live in, things like that. All right. So if you remember from AP Hug, this would be like a underdeveloped country, since the graph is like this, and then, for example, the United States would have a graph that's more of like a pillar, And then even more developed countries would have graphs that are almost going an inverse pyramid structure, right? Inverse pillar structure. And so that's just, a little bit of AP hug right there. So I'm just going to draw that graph right. Yeah. Okay, so that's that age pyramid. This video should be like 10-20 minutes long. It shouldn't be too long. All right, so then the generation time is the time between an individual. It's just the time between the generations, but it's really the time between an individual's birth and the birth of their offsprings. Okay, and so if you take this and you apply it to the video I did 2 weeks ago, sorry, I missed last week's, stuff came up, but oh well. So if you apply this to the video we did and you look at like K strategists and R strategists and stuff like that, the longer the generation time, the longer the life, of the animals, and like the more they are like K strategists instead of R strategists. So our strategists would be like turtles, or no, not turtles. What would be ours? Like bugs, things like that try to produce as much, offspring as possible and then die off really quickly. Or like cockroaches, things like that last, may only last like a month or 2 weeks or something like that, But for humans, this isn't a viable option because, we live for 80 years now. Yeah, it's the average life expectancy in like the United States. Yeah, so 80 to 70 to 80 years. So we're going to take our time, and the generation time is going to be much longer for human beings than it is for like bugs or something like that. All right, so then we have the sex ratio, which is basically what you would think. It's just the ratio between the different genders. The ratio between okay, so it's the ratio between the genders. And then you have the life tables. So life tables are how long, this is really applying it to people, but like it's how long people are going to live in like certain ages. So like if you were born in the, I don't know, like the 1990s, you would be expected to live a certain age. And then if you were born in the 2000s, you would be expected to live more than that, So like, for example, let's say the 1990s would be like, 70 years. It's probably not this big of a jump, but 70 years. And then let's say for your 2000 would be, 80 years. And so that would be the life table. That would be, the general age. And that's just dependent on the technology, the other things that we have, and like the general like advancement of health in the population. And so the life tables for different countries will be different. For example, you wouldn't have the same life expectancy in a country like Africa. And I was gonna say Africa. Never mind. But if you go to like the Congo or something like that, you wouldn't have the same life expectancy as you would in the United States, where the healthcare system is much more advanced. You have better wealth, things like that, and it's much more of a developed nation than some other countries that are third world countries around the world. So the life table is how long to live based on their age. Okay, and so that's about it. Actually, it's kind of weird to end the video this early, but why not we extend it a little bit? Let's do some pyramid stuff, the population pyramids. All right, so population. So I'm gonna be doing this in the terms of like human beings because it's more relatable. We can relate to it more, and you can figure out connections between the graphs and stuff like that in your own life, and then you can apply it to animals and things like that because it's a lot harder to explain for animals. All right, so you have a graph. This would be here. This would be almost like a country like the Congo or something like that, where you have increasing age as going up like this. So age is increasing like that. So age is going up, and then this would be like males, and then females. And so as you can see, they have a lot of infants and kids and stuff like that. And this represents their population because they are not developed enough to have family planning, things like that, and don't have the health and infrastructure to do all those things. Also, most of these rural countries are going to be based off of, again, agriculture, and so they're going to need the labor, and so they're going to procreate as much as possible to get that labor force into the thing. Okay, so that would be like a country like the Congo. Now this is going like way into AP Hug stuff, but you can apply it to biology too. All right, so then you would have let's see. So same thing. It's going up. Let's say this is males. This is females. Okay, and the graph looks sort of like this, like almost like a pillar, right? And so what's happening here is this would be more of like the USA or Canada or other nations that are in like the third or fourth stage of development. Again, AP Hug stuff, all right? So this would be more like USA. So what's happening here is that you have a equal amount in each area, and so you can see that these people are way more developed, and they are planning their lives, things like that, and they have the opportunities to to have an education, things like that, and they're better off with what they need rather than doing nothing. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know. All right. So, but basically, they have a pretty stable growth rate. Oh, my bad. I forgot to talk about growth. Okay. So, here the growth would be very, very big. There would be a lot of growth rate, like a huge growth rate here, because of the amount of. Let me get it a different color. All right. So, because of the amount of children that are being brought into the world, these children will only grow up and bring a increase to the population, whereas here the population would relatively be the same. And so I think the US has like a child to parent ratio of like you know uh, almost 1 to 1, or like every couple has like two children or something, 2.1 children or something like that. And so this is really expressed by the graph, because the graph is stable up and down, and so the growth rate won't be that big. I mean, yes, we will see some growth in the population, but it's going to be at a constant rate, whereas here it's going to be almost like a spike, where here it's going to be like a constant growth almost, right? Okay, so that would be the United States, and then we see the last graph, which would be right here. Let's see. All right, so the last graph would be like, oh, okay. The last graph, this is exaggerated, but almost like a inverse pyramid. And so you still have the age stuff here, male and then female. And so what's happening here is they are creating, they're not making a and so like their growth rate would be almost like negative, so they wouldn't be growing at all, almost negative. So negative. Now by growth rate I mean population growth rate, right? So obviously they're not having a lot of kids, and so they are, they're gonna lose that population, because this population will die off pretty soon. Oh, let me get a different color, 1 second. So this population will die off pretty soon, right? And there's no one to replace them. And so this is, this is a problem that many European countries are seeing now, because they've become so developed that they need, um, yeah, that they can't, uh, they're not, they've become so developed that they don't have kids as often as other countries do. And so their population will not be growing almost. I mean, it'll grow a little bit or might stay the same, but it's not going to, be very good for the workforce and things like that in their country. This would be, let's see. This would be like the most developed country in the world. I don't remember exactly what it is. That's from like 2 years ago. But that would be the population curve for that. Um, why did I say population curve? No, the pyramid for that. So, yeah, that's about it for demography. There's not really much to cover in the last few videos of biology, right? So, anyways, that's about it. Just know some of this stuff. If you take an AP Hug, or that's what we call it, AP Human Geography, you should already know all this stuff. Anyways, you would know all this stuff because you've taken that course. But if you haven't, I suggest taking that course. It's really good. It's a great course. But if you don't have time for it, or schedule doesn't work out or something like that, you'll have to do a little bit of studying. It's not going to make sense right off the bat, but give it some time and it'll make sense. All right, so cool. That's about it, and I'm going to end the video right now.